evening. How you doing? Can everyone hear me? It's very important that you hear me. My name is Baba Ona, and I will be your entertainment for about 10 to 15 minutes this afternoon. All right? Now, there's a word that I want to tell you. And when I raise my hand like this, I want you to say this word. Every time I do it, okay? Everyone says, chi. That wasn't everyone. I know ain't no light way back there in the light, but that wasn't everyone. I do it again. Chi. Ka. Ku. Na. Mo. Now we put that all together in one word. We're saying Chikaku Namo. All right, there once was an old lady. She lived to be about 150 years old. And she told a story. And the way that this story goes is very much involved. She says, it woke up one morning, and where she was used to smelling food when she woke up, hearing the laughter of children, hearing the talk of her mother, her father, she woke up and walked out into the house. Everyone in the house was dead. She left out of the house and went outside into the village. When she looked out upon the village, everyone in the village had died. She says, why? Why, Chikaku Namo, have you did this to me? She began to wonder where Chikaku Namo was. So she says, Chikaku Namo must be up in the sky. She began to build a tower. She grabbed her father's axe and began to cut wood. And when she cut all the wood, she began to build a square base. For 35 years, she worked on this tower. And she stacked the wood up, 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 looking for Chikaku Namo. After 35 years is a long time. The wood began to rot at the bottom. The tower fell. Boom. She was so determined to find Chikaku Namo, she decided to build it again. She started again with her father's axe, cutting wood. After she got the wood cut, she began to build it again, square. The tower went up, 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 up. 35 years passed again. The tower rotted at the bottom, and it fell to the ground. Boom. But she was still determined to find where Chikaku Namo was. She began to walk to the ends of the earth. But everyone knows that the earth is round. So she ended up in this village, and she sat down. And this old man asked her, "Old woman," she says, "Yes." He says, "Where are your children? Where are your great-grandchildren? Where are your great-great-great-grandchildren? Where is your family?" And she began to tell the story of how she wanted to look for Chikaku Namo. The old man looked and said, "You mean you spent all of this time looking for Chikaku Namo?" Chikaku Namo, he says, "Don't you know that Chikaku Namo rides all of our bikes?" Chikaku Namo. Chikaku Namo. Oh woman cried, Chikaku Namo, where do you hide? In the earth, in the sky. I want to ask you why. Here I am, all in alone. Why must I suffer? Am I the only one by saying, Chikaku Namo. Build a tower so high, reaching up where the birds don't fly. Cross the earth from place to place. I want to meet you face to face by saying, Chikaku Namo. The old man stood up and he said, everyone has a faith. Everyone carries a weight. Some of us will walk a road of gold. Some of us will carry a heavy load. But there's no need to complain. We must accept the pleasure with the pain. Everyone has a destiny. From this, no one is free by saying, Chikaku Namo. Chikaku Namo. Chikaku Namo. Chikaku Namo. Wish I knew what you know. Thank you. In this, our culture of our ancestors, we have many stories. They tell us many stories. You know, when we were small, as we get older, and these stories reflect the time, the duty, the ability, the discipline, also the character, you know, of our ancestors. And I'll share with you a story that my father, you know, shared with me. Because, you know, I came up, I was young, I was small, very, you know, full of energy, ready to go, move here, move there, you know, do a lot of things. And I was in school. And the first couple of times that I came back home from school, and I brought my grades back with me, and I was doing good. You know, my father pat me on the back, that's a good job, son. I said, thank you, Dad, and you know, we'll move on. Then, a couple of times I came in with my report, and he looked at it and said, what's going on? I said, well, what do you mean, what's going on? He said, well, look at this. You're not doing as well as, you know, you were doing. And I said, looked at it, I said, well, I think it's pretty good. And he said, no, it's not good enough. There's a good, you know, there's a this, but it's not good enough. And what's the problem? And I looked at him and I said, there is no problem. He said, yes, there's a problem. Something wrong with concentration or whatever you're doing, there's a problem. And he said, sit down and let me tell you something. So I jumped and I sit down. Because, you know, back in the days when I was born, if they said sit down, you sit down. If they said take a drink of water, you took a drink of water. If they said it was supper time, you came and ate, because after supper, if nothing else was on the table, then your next meal was breakfast. And, you know, you had the better night with that. You know, you drank water all night long to try to keep full. And you couldn't go to sleep because, you know what water do, it makes you get up and run, you know, so you waste the whole night of sleep. But anyway, you know, I sit down. And he said, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you a story, and I want you to remember this. He said, it'll help you in the long run. And what I'm hoping to do is help everybody here in the long run, too, you know, because stories that I do, you know, there's kind of like wisdom. There's some insight in it. And he told me, he says, once there was an alligator, and it stayed in this river. And the name of this alligator was named Onabamiero. Okay? Onabamiero was the meanest thing in the river. Whenever an animal, human, whoever, came down to the water to get a drink, they would sneak down to the water, not make any noise, and they would really, you know, bend their head down like this and get them a drink. And as soon as they heard something in the water, no matter what it was, they would raise their head and look for Onabamiero. And if they saw Onabamiero coming, they would make tracks, in other words. They would run. You know? I wouldn't blame them, because Onabamiero was mean. And he would travel up and down the river. And I kept looking at my father while he was telling me this, you know? And he says, one day, there was a female dog, and she had puppies. And when the puppies were old enough, you know, to walk a little bit and wobble, she would take them down to the river. She told them about Onabamiero, the big alligator in the river. And she would take them down to the river, and they would get close to the water. All of a sudden, when they got close, she would tell them, bend down and drink. All the little puppies would bend down, and they would go to drinking. All of a sudden, she said, stop. They all had to stop. And they would stop, and they would back away from the water. And they would look around and see if Onabamiero was there. And if they didn't see Onabamiero, it was just a fake noise, they would go back to her, and they would drink. And she would say, bend down and drink. And the puppies would bend down and drink. She said, stop, stop. And when they stopped, all the puppies would back up. All of a sudden, Onabamiero came out of the water and went, oh. The puppies backed up. Onabamiero did not get a puppy meal that day. And the puppies looked, and they were very frightened. And the mother took them back to the house. They came the next day, same thing. She told them, say, drink. All of a sudden, she said, stop. All of them backed up. Here's Onabamiero again. Oh! All of a sudden, Onabamiero didn't have a puppy meal that day. The mother took all the puppies back to the house. But in time, these puppies got bigger and bigger. And you know, just like children, sometimes they make up their own mind on what they want to do. Sometimes they don't listen. You know, and that happens. But we as parents, we as overseers, babysitters, just carers of the community, carers of people, we have to look out for them and tell them when they're doing wrong. But anyway, this male puppy decided he would go down to the water by himself. So he did. He went down and he looked around for Onabamiero, and he didn't see Onabamiero. And he bent his head down to the water and he began to drink. All of a sudden, he heard something coming, and it was Onabamiero. And Onabamiero took off at him and clapped. Oh! The puppy jumped back. Onabamiero missed him, and the puppy went. He laughed because he figured like he was getting over. He wanted to make it fun. He came down to the water the next day, and he took a drink. The same thing happened. Onabamiero came up at him, oh, and missed him. And he began to laugh. And Onabamiero was very angry because he said, he's playing with me. All of a sudden, this puppy heard a noise. And it was a female dog on the other side of the river. Now, when he saw the female dog, he got excited. The male dog did. And they began to talk to each other. Now, y'all don't speak dog talk, do you? Okay, I didn't think you did. Anyway, I speak dog talk, and I'll tell you what they were saying. The female dog said, hey, 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 come walk with me. She said, come walk with me, okay? The male dog said, He said, no. On the eater ball is in the water. The female dog answered back and says, if you don't walk with me, I'll find somebody else. She said, if you don't walk with me, I'll find somebody else. And the male dog said, he says, okay, wait a minute. Ain't I'm good on dog talk? Hold on. And all of a sudden, he was trying to figure out a way that he could get over to the female dog and not be interrupted by Onabamiero. So the male dog picked up a stone and he grabbed it and picked it up. And he figured he would throw it way down the river. And when it made a splash down there, Onabamiero would go down there where the splash was, and that would give him a chance to cross over with it to the female dog. Excellent idea. So he took the stone and he threw it down the river. The stone hit in the water, made a big splash. Boosh! All of a sudden, Onabamiero came up. He knew he had him a meal, and he went towards where the stone splashed in the water. When he got there to the stone, he figured out that he had been tricked. It was a stone. And meanwhile, the male dog had jumped in the water, and he was swimming over where the female dog was. He had made it halfway across the river before Onabamiero had figured it out. All of a sudden, Onabamiero looked up and saw the water splashing and began to come that way. The male dog was still swimming. He looked back and saw Onabamiero coming. He got faster. All of a sudden, he made it to the edge of the bank where the female dog was. As he got up to come out of the water, Onabamiero was dead on his behind. And as he came up out of the water, Onabamiero came with his mouth open and made a big splash at the male dog. The little male dog stepped up out of the water and looked at the female and like to say, I'm here. All of a sudden, the female dog looked at him and she says, he says, huh? She says, she says, you lost your tail. So he looked around and saw his tail laying there near the water. And when he looked at it, he went back and reached down by the water to pick up his piece of tail. When he picked up his piece of tail, before he could turn back around, Onabamiero came and went over his head and took his head off. And I sit there. I was kind of, confused. I looked up at my father, trying to figure out, what I say, well, what are you saying? And, he looked at me, and you know what he told me? He says, never lose your head over a piece of tail. Thank you.